She doesn't hate you. She just stopped hoping you'd ever understand her. At first, it's just small things. She doesn't laugh at your jokes anymore. Her texts become shorter. Her eyes glaze over when you talk about your day. You chalk it up to stress, maybe hormones, maybe age. But deep down, something inside you knows. You're losing her. And the worst part, she hasn't said a word about it. Most men think when a woman leaves, it's sudden. That one day she just woke up and stopped loving them. But no, when a woman walks away after 20 years, it's because she's been emotionally walking away for the last 5. Quietly, patiently, until silence feels safer than another ignored conversation. You may still sleep next to her. You may still hear her voice at dinner. But she's not really there anymore, is she? She's somewhere else, in her mind, in her heart, in her dreams. And if you're honest with yourself, you already felt it. You just didn't know what it meant. She's not angry. She's exhausted. And what you think is peace between the two of you is actually resignation. She stopped fighting not because everything is fine, but because she no longer believes fighting will change anything. Now here's the brutal truth. You didn't lose her all at once. You lost her in tiny moments. Every time she tried to share her thoughts, and you looked at your phone. Every time she hinted at needing help, and you said, "I'm tired too." Every time she carried the weight of your lives without a thank you. And now, you're standing in a quiet house, wondering where the spark went. But let me be clear, this didn't happen because you were a bad man. It happened because you weren't paying attention. So if you're ready, really ready, we're going to walk through the reasons she stopped caring. And more importantly, what you can still do, if you haven't already run out of time. She used to remember everything. Your mother's birthday, your nephew's graduation, the exact way you like your coffee. She did it without being asked, without complaining, and without ever making you feel like you owed her anything. But over the years, those small acts started to weigh on her. Not because she didn't care, but because she started to realize you never noticed. She carried the emotional weight of the entire relationship while you existed in it. You didn't mean to be passive. You just thought things were fine the way they were. And that's where the disconnect began. Because while you were coasting, she was managing, anticipating, adjusting, doing the invisible work that keeps love alive. And here's the hardest pill to swallow. She never wanted you to become someone else. She just wanted you to see what she was doing, to acknowledge it, to take initiative before she had to ask. But you didn't. Not because you were cruel, but because you assumed she'd always be there, always taking care of it, always fine. Now, when she forgets to remind you about that appointment or no longer organizes your family trips, you think she's slipping. She isn't. She's letting go. Slowly. Deliberately. Not to punish you, but because something inside her finally whispered, "Let him carry some of this, or let it fall." And it's falling. Piece by piece. You thought the silence meant everything was okay. But silence is where resentment goes to multiply. And it grows faster than you think. She used to light up when you asked about her day. Now she just says, "It was fine," and walks away. You tell yourself she's tired. That maybe she's moody. That women just get quieter with age. But what you don't realize is that silence is a message. A loud one. You just haven't learned how to hear it. There was a time when the two of you would talk for hours. Not just about bills or the kids or what's for dinner, but about life. Dreams. Ideas. Stupid things that made you both laugh at midnight. But slowly, those conversations faded, and you never noticed. She asked you once, "What are you thinking about?" You shrugged and said, "Nothing." It seems like a harmless moment, but to her, it was a door closed. Because women don't crave luxury, they crave depth. She doesn't need expensive vacations or diamond rings. She needs to feel seen. She needs to know there's still curiosity in your eyes when you look at her. But somewhere along the way, you stopped asking questions. You stopped digging deeper. You stopped trying. You thought the relationship was secure. That the vows you said decades ago would keep her anchored. But love isn't an anchor, it's a plant. And you stopped watering it. So now she gives short answers. She nods. She pretends to listen. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's learned that opening her heart to someone who isn't listening is the fastest way to feel invisible. And she's tired of feeling invisible in her own home. She started reading more. Listening to new music. Taking classes online. She wanted to learn Italian just because she liked how it sounded. She mentioned it once over dinner. You barely looked up from your plate. You said, "Cool," and changed the subject. At first, she didn't take it personally. She figured you were tired. Or distracted. But then it kept happening. Every time she tried to share something new, You gave her the same distracted smile, the same nod, and eventually nothing. What you didn't see was this. While you were staying still, she was evolving. Quietly, internally. She was becoming someone deeper, more curious, more alive. And while she hoped you'd join her, walk with her, grow with her, you didn't. You stayed in place. The same routines, the same stories, the same small talk that now feels like dust in her mouth. She's not angry that you didn't grow like her. She's sad that you didn't even notice she was growing. At some point, she stopped sharing her discoveries. She stopped inviting you to join her walks, her thoughts, her wonder. Because it hurts to be excited about something and watch the person you love meet it with indifference. Now she grows in silence, and you sit next to her, wondering why she feels so far away. Here's the truth no one tells you. Relationships die when one person starts expanding and the other starts shrinking. And once that distance becomes normal, reconnection feels like climbing a mountain you no longer have the strength or the courage to face. There's a moment, maybe you missed it, when she started sighing more than smiling. When walking into the kitchen didn't feel like entering a home, but like punching a clock. She used to take pride in making the house feel warm. She'd light candles, fold laundry just the way you liked it, keep everything running without ever being asked. You assumed she was just good at it, that maybe she liked it that way. What you didn't realize was she was hoping you'd step in, hoping you'd notice, hoping you'd say, "Let me take care of that." But instead, you left your socks on the floor. You walked past the full sink. You sat on the couch while she cleaned up after the dinner she just cooked. You thought this was teamwork. She thought it was slow suffocation. And you might think, it's just chores. It's not that deep. But to her, it is that deep. Because every unwashed dish said, "This is your job." Every ignored mess said, "I don't see your effort." And every time she cleaned without help, it screamed, "You're alone in this." Now, when she lets the laundry pile up or doesn't rush to clean the kitchen, you might think she's being lazy. She isn't. She's done. Done trying to earn appreciation through service. Done being the only adult in a two-person household. The resentment didn't start big. It started with crumbs on the counter and towels left on the floor. Small things, dismissed things. But those small things added up until she no longer saw the house as a shared space, but as a burden she carried for both of you. And eventually, she began asking herself the question that changes everything. If I disappeared tomorrow, would he even notice how much I did? There was a time you couldn't keep your hands off her. When her presence made you stand up straighter, speak with more intention, feel more alive. You used to admire the way she walked, the way she laughed, the way she looked at you when she thought no one else was watching. Now, you barely look at her. Not really. Not like that. You say things like, "You know I love you," but she hasn't felt desired in years. There's a difference between being loved and being wanted, and she feels that difference every time you walk past her without touching her shoulder, without catching her eye, without a spark of recognition that says, "You still take my breath away." You may think it's just routine, that after so many years, things naturally calm down. But for her, that calm starts to feel like absence, like erasure, like she's no longer the woman you once chased, but just the person who does the groceries and folds the sheets. You didn't mean to stop seeing her, but you did, and she felt it, in every quiet dinner, in every night you turned your back without a kiss, in every compliment you gave another woman but couldn't spare for her. She started asking herself, am I still beautiful? Or am I just convenient? And here's the truth, she doesn't need to be 20 again. She just needs to feel seen, to feel like her presence still moves something inside you, that you still see the woman behind the routine, the softness behind the ears, the spark behind the tired eyes. But instead, she looks in the mirror and wonders if you'd even notice if she disappeared. You thought retirement would bring you closer, more time together, more laughter, more peace. But what you didn't realize is that time doesn't fix disconnection. It exposes it. Suddenly you were home. All day. Every day. And she was too. But instead of feeling like a couple rediscovering each other, she felt like she was babysitting a grown man with nowhere to go and nothing to do. You see, for years, she managed everything around your career. She adapted to your schedule, picked up the slack, kept herself busy while you worked. And now, she was finally ready to enjoy the space she'd been waiting decades for. To breathe, to travel, to rediscover herself. But instead of exploring life together, you parked yourself on the couch and looked to her as your new routine, as your entertainment, as your plan. And she felt it, that heavy shift. The unspoken assumption that now, in your quiet years, she would fill the silence. That she would become your hobby, your agenda, your escape. But she had her own dreams. And now, instead of feeling free, she feels trapped again. This time not by work or children or responsibilities, but by you. Not because you're cruel, but because you never asked yourself, what kind of man am I outside of my job? What kind of partner am I when I have nothing else to distract me? And she can't answer that for you. She won't, because she's done raising boys. She wanted a partner to explore life with, not another responsibility to manage. And if you don't find something that gives you purpose beyond her, she will quietly resent becoming yours. And that kind of resentment, it doesn't scream, it whispers. Until there's nothing left to say. She told you she was tired. You said, me too. She told you she felt overwhelmed. You shrugged and said, it'll be fine. She told you she felt alone. You stayed silent, hoping the moment would pass. But it didn't pass. It stayed. It grew. And over time, so did the space between you. You didn't yell. You didn't fight. But you didn't hear her either. And that's the part that broke her. Because women don't always want you to fix the problem. They want you to understand what it feels like to have the problem. They want your presence, not your solutions. They want to be heard, not handled. And yet, somewhere along the way, you became a man who nodded but didn't engage. Who answered but never asked back. Who heard the words, but never listened to the meaning behind them. So she stopped sharing, not to punish you, but to protect herself. Because nothing hurts more than opening your heart to someone who's already somewhere else. In his head, on his phone, in his routine. You may think she stopped talking because she lost interest. No, she stopped because you did. And here's the dangerous part. When a woman realizes her words no longer land, her thoughts no longer matter, her voice no longer echoes in the heart of the man she loves, she stops trying. Not out of spite, but out of quiet survival. She will cook the dinner. She will fold the clothes. She will attend the birthday parties. And she will do all of it without a single complaint. Because she has accepted a truth she never wanted to face. You may still live together. But she lives alone in this marriage. She sat at a funeral last month, someone her age. Someone with grandkids, plans, a retirement that never came. And something shifted inside her. For years, she told herself, one day it'll get better. One day he'll see me. One day, we'll find our spark again. But now, with every passing year, she hears a louder question. How many one days do I have left? She doesn't hate you. She doesn't wish you harm. But she's starting to see that life is shorter than she thought. That waiting for you to change is costing her more than she's willing to give. So she starts pulling back. Not with drama, not with rage, but with detachment. She cancels plans. She goes quiet in the car. She laughs more with friends and less with you. Not to be cruel, but because she's trying to feel alive again. She's trying to remember who she was before she gave every part of herself away. She used to beg for your attention. Now, she finds peace in your silence. That's the difference. And here's the cruel irony. Now that you finally feel her slipping, now you want to talk. Now you want to hold her. Now you're panicking. But she's already mourned this marriage, long before you noticed something was wrong. So she doesn't cry when you say, I'll change. She doesn't light up when you offer to take her out. She doesn't smile when you finally notice her haircut. Because she knows. It's not real. It's fear. It's reaction. It's too late. You didn't lose her because you aged. You lost her because you stopped choosing her. You lost her because you thought love, once secured, didn't need effort. You lost her in the 1,000 tiny moments where she reached for you and found nothing. And yet, there's still one truth left. If you're man enough to face it, love doesn't disappear. It starves. And sometimes it can still be fed. But only if you stop thinking she's overreacting. Only if you stop blaming time, routine, or her mood. Only if you realize that the woman beside you is not your possession. She's your reflection. So if you're watching this, and you feel even the smallest sense of regret in your chest, don't waste it. Say something real. Show up differently. Don't ask her what she needs. Watch and learn. Be the man you promised to be, not just when you married her, but every day since. Because in the end, she didn't leave because she stopped loving you. She left because you did.